What's good, Josh? Your boy J12. I'm the host of J12 TV. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you already know Yellowjackets and dropped that season 3, episode 9. I feel like with every episode, the season just gets crazier and crazier. In both timelines, too, I've been giving a lot of credit to the present timeline in these past couple videos. We get not one, but 2 major deaths in this episode. In the past, we continue to see Shauna crash out. Crazy how with every episode that passes, Shauna gets hated more and more and more by me and fans. It's like the writers keep on finding new ways to make us despise her even more. You gotta give them credit for that. I also see my GOAT not reach her breaking point. And honestly, I can't even be mad at her, because if you really think about it, a lot of what happened in this episode was on her. Why would you not only let Shauna rip that rifle right out your hands, but then give Hannah the knife? I just couldn't believe how I see Natalie moving in this episode, but we gonna talk about it. And then in the present, we got Shauna continue to crash out. We also got Van getting up out of her coma, speaking to younger Van. Younger Van giving all these riddles, talking about X marks the spot, treasure, all that. She gonna find her treasure all right. One non-stop flight to them pearly gates of heaven. Or hell, I mean, she is a cannibal, but she was just doing what she needed to do to survive out there. I do think overall Lil Van is probably one of the better Yellowjackets in terms of morality, so she might get into heaven. I don't know. With all that said though, we gonna get right into this episode. Y'all already know what y'all gotta do. If y'all like anything I have to say at all in this video, like, comment, share, subscribe, do all those things. So boom, we start the episode out with Van talking to young Van in this hallucination limbo type state she's in. Older Van's obviously asking young Van if she's dead. Young Van's like, nah. But that death is also around every corner, so pick one. Young Van talking to all these riddles in this interaction anyway. Van asks what she's doing there. Young Van tells her about this X marks the spot. Ty's been trying to tell her about this all along. That it's important that she finds this treasure, whatever she's talking about. It's then when Van miraculously wakes up out of the coma with Ty right in her face. She's telling her that she gotta get out this hospital right now, this instant. When we go back to Shauna and Melissa, Shauna's still trying to get Melissa to eat a piece of her skin, just weird. But she does, or it looks like she does, before she spits it back at Shauna's face and gets the hell up out of her own crib. Now, for some reason, Shauna did not chase Melissa up out the house that's not her, where she knows she has a wife and kid that should be coming back at some point. I'm honestly surprised she didn't come back in this episode, but it is what it is. Anyway, Shauna's just staying cooling in the crib while Melissa is running for her life actively. See, she got low gas, which is not a good thing, because shortly after her car runs out of gas, we see Ty, Van, and Misty pulling up on the other end. And Misty, Four Eyes having ass, peep Melissa instantly. So she tells them to go back, and that's when we see Van sees the X on the railroad crossing sign as well, indicating, okay, this is the X that marks the spot. You got Ty tackling Melissa on the ground before they put her in the car, asking her all these questions about what happened, how are you alive, da-da-da-da. Melissa don't get into none of that. She just says that Shauna is wild. She's at my crib. She done forced me to eat a piece of my skin. Is this the time that y'all are still on in big 2025? So at this point, it's a million things going on in all their heads. They figure just take Melissa back to her crib. They get there and just look at Shauna. Her most true state ever. I mean, shorty is just psychotic. Like, when they pull up to the crib, they're not even surprised that Shauna's on this time. Anyway, you know when a group of this magnitude gets together, yapping is going to ensue. Shauna's accusing Melissa of clearly being the one to kill Lottie, but Misty counter-argues like, nah, we got your DNA all on Lottie's fingernails. You the culprit. We also know that she was in the city that day, so you not getting out of this one. But that's when Shauna counter-argues that she was there for a cat. Obviously, we know there's no cap in this statement. We've seen she brought a cat to her crib in some episodes earlier, but it's all just really convenient. You got Shauna trying to put more blame on Melissa now, talking about she's behind everything, cutting my brakes, leaving the phone in the bathroom, locking me in that damn freezer, just for Misty to be like, nah, that was me. That last one was me. I knew that freezer was locked the whole time. I just wanted you to suffer a little bit. That alone puts Misty in contention for MVP of this season so far. But next time, just make sure she suffers a lot more than that. You see, this was some sort of a mic drop moment for Misty though, because after she says this, she's like, I'm not finna clean up another one of Shauna's messes, and just gets about the house. Which honestly, I don't blame her. Shauna is too messy. We already see what she did in season 1. I'm not trying to get involved in none of that again. On top of the fact that she be dissing Misty any chance she get, and Misty's already gung-ho on the fact that Shauna is the culprit in Lottie's death, so I can't blame her for not being a part of this. We see she meets up with Walter out of nowhere to catch this flight to his crib, I guess. More on that later though. Cut back to Melissa's crib. Ty and Van are acknowledging that if Melissa's family pull up, that they're in some serious trouble. When Melissa brings up, no, Shauna is the problem this whole time, then Van co-signs like, I mean, you got a point. She did have that Adam incident earlier on in the series. You already know Melissa don't know who Adam is, so they essentially are making it even worse for her. Because y'all know Shauna is not going for none of that. She's not trying to have nobody else know about her body count. We then unfortunately see Shauna have her own mic drop moment by telling Van and Ty that Melissa done married Hannah's daughter. Was the one who sent Shauna the tape to begin with. So they like, nah, you clearly are out. So they help Shauna with Ty and Melissa up near the fireplace. and leave her unattended after doing so. There's no way Melissa can get into no shicey stuff while she's tied up right by the fireplace in her own house, right? After this, we go back to Misty and Walter. Misty's like, maybe we got the Shauna thing wrong. Walter's like, nah, what you mean her evidence was all over Lottie? She's like, well, I mean, the cat story kind of checks out a little bit. That's when Walter gets to getting unnecessarily defensive, talking about you lose all your sense of judgment when it comes to your friends. Really after this, he leaves to get Misty a refill of her chocolate martini, and that's when she goes through bro's phone. Sees something so shocking and leaves her face like this. I could only think whatever she's seen on this phone links to somebody who killed Lottie who is not Shauna. Y'all leave in the comments, who do y'all think killed Lottie for real? I was never on the train of Shauna killing Lottie. I feel like it was always too obvious. I always been big Ty killed Lottie, but now I'm not so sure. I think there's a lot more suspects that I'm giving credit for. I've heard some good theories talking about it could be Callie, because again, Shauna's DNA is on Lottie's body. Callie would have Shauna's DNA, being that she's a direct descendant of Shauna. I just feel like we can't rule out the DNA thing, but then we know Walter also had Shauna's hair, so he could easily be framing her, as I've said in the past too. Anyway, getting back to Melissa's crib, we see Shauna and Ty knocked out. Apparently Melissa done did something to the fireplace to knock him out, so Van has to bring Ty and Shauna up out the room to save their lives. See, as Van is pulling Ty up out the living room, that Ty is having an inner battle with her inner self. Like, they literally going at it, and we see regular Ty finally comes out on top. He's talking to Van. Van tells her to stay right here. She loves her all that. And at this point, I knew the death flags on Van were very high. Not just because my girlfriend spoiled me on it, I promise. We see Van pick up a knife, cut Melissa free, but then we see she's moving to stab. Talk about she needs to sacrifice in order to live, the cancer and everything. But she can't bring herself to stab Melissa. She's like, why can't I be one of them? Melissa's like, you don't want to be one of them for real. But I do. And ends up taking out Van. Nah. No lie, Van was one of my favorite people in the present day timeline. Now all I got left is Misty. It was definitely sad to see her go. You know Ty's pissed. Shauna probably gonna be screaming, I told you so all next episode long. Y'all get ready for that. Yeah, man. R.I.P. Van. Super unfortunate. Definitely curious to see what Melissa's next moves are. I can imagine she's gonna link up with Hannah's daughter. Tell him we gotta get up out of here. We got crazy people in our crib. But it looks like Melissa's also willing to play the game now. So is she gonna be out for Ty and Shauna now and Misty? We gonna have to see about all that. But I can't get out the present day timeline without first talking about Callie and Jeff this episode. Now Jeff catches Callie in broad daylight trying to roll a split for his crib. Now, if this was my parents at that age, they would have caught me lacking, is all I'm gonna say. I don't want to violate no community guidelines telling y'all what would have happened. It's a real chill interaction between father and daughter. We get Callie asking him the hard questions, messing up Jeff's high. But they're real questions, and it's a great scene with Callie asking Jeff if he meant all the things he said to the Joels about Shauna in the episode prior. He says he was just saying what he needed to save his own skin, but Callie's like, it's okay if he was being real, and that's when we see Jeff break down. He says to Callie, it's hard being married, but being married to your mother is lonely. It's a great underrated scene between these two actors. I'm really looking forward to seeing the next time Shauna is in the same scene with Jeff and Callie, because clearly feelings on how Jeff and Callie feel about Shauna have changed in the last couple episodes. All right, it's time for everybody's favorite past timeline. We pick up where we left off. They're all arguing on who's leaving, who's staying. 1 second, Natalie has the rifle in her hand, and the next is in Shauna's hands. I'm like, Natalie, what are you doing? Like, Natalie, I really got to ice on you real quick, because I don't think you understand the severity of your actions in this episode. Not only did you just let Shauna take the rifle up out your hands, I would have had that stuck to my hands like glue. Knowing who Shauna is, why would you let her, of all Yellowjackets, get the rifle? Now she's telling y'all I can't leave, which is still crazy to me. Like, she's telling these girls they can't even have fun. Who are you? But then later on in the episode, you give Hannah the knife to free Cody and herself and then lead a group of y'all to safety. Don't get me wrong, the logic is there, but couldn't one of y'all do that? Why would you leave the knife in the hands of somebody you met like 2 days ago? Knowing Shauna got the rifle, wouldn't Shauna be more impartial to shooting one of y'all as opposed to people who she believes are ops at this point? I guess not, because we see how she does Melissa early on in that episode. We're going to talk about it. As much as I'm frying Natalie up this episode, yeah, I know she's my goal. It was very sad seeing what she went through after all this unfolded, especially with the winter officially starting when she finds out this news. Oh my God, they about to go through it in these next couple episodes. We get the Travis and Lottie scene. Travis is trying to set Lottie up this whole episode, thinking she's the main one keeping him in this forest still, which, I mean, he's not really wrong in thinking that. She was the first person to be like, we need to stay. He sets up this trap for her to fall into, but she steps on the trap, and tell me why she doesn't fall in. Lottie don't look heavy. She probably lost a lot of weight just being out here alone, but there's no way she walks on that trap and doesn't fall in. What do y'all think about that? Every time I think that this series is all in their head, they show me some supernatural stuff that lead me to believe that it's supernatural. You got the forest breathing when she's stepping on the trap. Like, what does all of this mean? How does this correlate? We get to the Melissa and Shauna interaction this episode, which made me hate Shauna even more. She just can't stand seeing Melissa and Hannah get along. So she calls Melissa out, calling her dumb. Melissa goes on to say, y'all right, she definitely is a whole crash out. Shauna lifts the piece up, telling her say it again. Melissa turns around and says it, and then Shauna shoots at Melissa. just barely missing, causing her to piss herself. I'm like, nah, you real wicked. This girl done did nothing but show you respect up to this point. I mean, glaze your cold, dry self up. You mad at her for making a new friend? Nah, you wicked as hell. Shauna gotta go out in the worst way. You really made girl piss herself. And we know Shauna not done with the tool. She upset on Hannah and Cody as they trying to make their escape. Hannah, fearing for her life, knife in hand, decides to stab Cody instead of taking that bullet from Shauna. I can't blame her. But you do realize that was y'all only way out of here, right? But we see that that's not really the case. See Misty telling Van this episode to pick up the machine that the researchers had. Plans to use some of his parts to go with the radio from earlier seasons. As she sabotaged, by the way. Great episode. Looking forward to the